Hey, what's up, guys? This is Bodie.
This is Shanae.
Hey, this is Jamie McDonald.
What's up? I'm Laverdier.
What's up, y'all? This is Seth Schleter.
Hey, what's up, family? This is Jeremy Rosado, and you are tuned in to Kingdom Builder. Listen, I am so excited for what God's doing in this season. You can check out Kingdom Builder if you're listening or watching. It's an honor to be here, to be a part of this. Keep checking my family out, and check me out wherever you listen to music.
That you done something wrong, and well, I don't need to know whatever it is.
Hey everyone, Mike Laxton here with Kingdom Builder. And today we're thrilled to welcome Ethan David, also known as Psalms of David, who just released his debut single, He Loves You. We're going to talk about the story behind the song, his journey, and what's next for Psalms of David. Ethan, welcome to Kingdom Builder.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. Honored.
Well, we're glad to have you here. We're glad to really just kind of hear your story. And when I first heard the news that came across from NRT Music, because that is who you're signed with, I was very very captivated by kind of the background. So without me having to go into it, I'd love to, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into the music and what kind of led you to become Psalms of David.
Yeah, I actually grew up hating music. When I was a kid, my mom told me when I was a baby, I was like, I started singing and whatnot, but like somewhere along the way, I just was not into it. And I started wanting to learn every martial art there was. I didn't want there to be a chance that someone could take me out in a fight. And so I was really just kind of obsessed with that. And I was really creative and wanted to make superheroes. And I guess I just kind of went to a place where I was like, I gotta be like super like masculine, and music just wasn't masculine to me. Especially since like I've always been a lyricist. So the deepest, most important part of a song is for me lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I hear a song from like Justin Bieber from when I was a kid, it was always like about saying about how pretty a girl is or something like that. I'm like, man, and then the equivalent is usually like some crazy rap stuff. And like, I wasn't really exposed well to music, I think. And so I just kind of developed like a distaste for it. But when I was 13, I had an encounter with God. I was suicidal, and I told God, like, I need a miracle. I need you to tell me, like, you love me, or else I'm done. Because I thought that I was too far gone. I thought I was like the only person who was too far gone. And so I just told him, like, like everyone's getting free from pornography, and I'm just here like a 13-year-old. I didn't think that was common. And so and he I had to hear him say I love you. And so I heard him say I love you. And I felt this like warm embrace. And it was the craziest thing ever, but it totally switched my paradigm, because I was thinking that everything going wrong was going wrong because he didn't love me. And now I'm like, well, he loves me. So even though things are going wrong, I know they're going to be all right if I just submit to him and let him do what he's going to do. It's just my fault. Like I'm the one who's perpetuating this, and I just need to let him be God. And so when I was 15 years old, I was having an encounter with Jesus in the back seat of my grandfather's car. I was just loving on him. It was just a deep little time of worship. And I had secretly been starting to like worship music. I didn't want anyone to know that I liked any kind of music. But like there was one time where I was like in my dad's office in the middle of the night, and I was like hunched over the keyboard. I was like, and then he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm listening to worship music." And then I show him it's just reckless love. So just the craziest stuff. But when I had that encounter, I told God, like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I know it's probably martial arts, but I'll do whatever it is. Even if it was music, I'd do it. And that's like saying something. And I immediately heard God say, I want you to write a song.
Oh, say that's you mentioned "Reckless Love." You know, that's kind of what you're listening to. Which, I
Yeah.
mean, again, the whole theme of this, the whole track, you know, that you put out is "He Loves You," and you talk about his warm embrace. And I mean, you know, "Reckless Love" is it's a song about how God's love is just over encompassing more than we can ever think or imagine. It's, you know, he loves us so much he sent his son to die for us. That's a reckless love because who would do that? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just awesome to hear your story and kind of hear that. And I know there's some other aspects of it as well, as far as, you know, you mentioned suicidal. I know there's a part in there, if you don't mind sharing, about a
Sure.
time where that you were you're a victim of trafficking,
Yeah.
and the reason I'm getting into that is because for the listeners and viewers who follow me, I have two kids. I have a 17-year-old and a 17-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter. So again, that's a honestly this day and age, that's a scary thought,
It
and
is.
just trying to see that how God kind of brought you through that as well. I mean, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear more of that.
I so yeah, that's kind of what this song is about. When I was 18 years old, a family friend noticed that I was, had this musical gifting and I was starting to pursue it. And he decided to take me around the world, quote unquote, and spread the gospel with me. And so I was like kind of low key chasing clout because I wanted to just get there and become successful. And I knew that he was a very wealthy man. But as he took me into his home, it wasn't. I'll spare you the gory details. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I think this song, I mean, I wrote "Don't Let Me Drown" around that season, and then afterwards, about that, and that was that was my cry, but, "He Loves You" is kind of like a very, um it's what I wish I heard, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I knew that he loved me, and it was like a tool that I was able to hold on to because that right there was like I could have died, like
Mhm.
I could have. I know a lot of people wouldn't have been able to make it through that, and the only reason I was able to make it out was because I knew what he told me before. He said, "I love you, Ethan. You're mine." And it was so I guess it's just kind of like since I came back, I've been able to minister to a lot of people who've been through, SA or certain things like that. I don't know what words I can use on this if this is on YouTube, but um, I a lot of people have been through a lot, and I've been able to minister to them. And so I guess this song is kind of like from a brother, to someone who's really struggling and is going through some serious suffering, maybe, and whatever
Mhm.
that might look like. Like that's why in the second verse it starts off with, I know what it's like to be abused. I can relate. I've been there too. So if you need someone who can sit with you, I'm here. I got you.
Awesome way to really just see how God's used your gifts to really, you know, to
Yeah.
put that into written form, and you know, you do expose a vulnerability there, which is great. That that you've been able to share that story, and I think that because of that story, you know, as you even mentioned, when it comes to music, you know, people focus on the lyrics, especially in Christian music, because that's what it's about. It's more than just, you know, baby, 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 in like Justin Bieber's case,
Yeah.
where it's about, you know, there's about a bigger message that's tied to it. So when you take, you know, your story there and then weave that into a song, it's going to resonate with people. And again, I think that's what really captivated me about it and why, you know, I wanted to have this conversation. But for someone who you know, again, you didn't really like music a lot. Then you kind of got into the worship music scene a little bit with Corey Asbury there with Reckless Love. How would you kind of describe the musical style that, you know, your pen name, essentially Psalms of David, is to someone who might be hearing you for the first time?
Ooh, that's a really good question, like straight up, because it's hard for me to answer that. I'm I'm really trying to move away from the typical CCM sound,
Mm.
and I'm exploring a much more alternative music type route. I really want my songs to capture the emotion of, I guess, quote unquote, the protagonist, whether that's me or a character I'm
Mhm.
singing about. I want to make sure that it's captured appropriately. And sometimes that looks like, He Loves You is like kind of I don't know, would you call it like a cinematic pop type?
Mhm.
And then there's You Who Are Weary, it's kind of more like a folk rock. And then we have some songs that are coming up on this album that are more like harder alt rock. And Perilous Roads, which is more like an alt rock. And then I'm also kind of trying to blend genres in certain songs. So I don't know how to describe it. I would say if anytime someone asks me what kind of music you make, I say Christian alternative.
Mhm.
That's the best way because I don't want you to come in thinking that you're gonna hear I don't know, Reckless Love. you know, you're probably not gonna play a lot of my stuff at church. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, if that answers your question.
No, yeah, that definitely answers the question. And again, that not I would say not all music is that Christian music is church music for sure. It's it's not
Yeah,
wouldn't say it would be a worship song, but kind of along that route. Then kind of reframing the question in a different way.
sure.
As far as who you are as an artist and what you're putting out there, what people can compare it to. Let's dig into some of again, going back to hey, who have you actually listen to influence wise because obviously there's going to be some influences there as far as like
Yeah.
different styles of music. So what does Ethan like to listen to? What do you think might be influencing the sound that you're actually putting out? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So, I love it's hard to it's hard to answer that. That's a question that's hard to answer because I still have a really complicated relationship with music.
Mm.
Um, I love Benjamin William Hastings.
Mm.
I love his just articulacy, if that's a word.
Hmm.
His, he's able to express a lot of things, and he has like just this crazy vernacular. Like he has like just a super expansive, like he's a dictionary. I love that. Um, but also, I love Gable Price and Friends. You get kind of like, Heretic, I think is a freaking phenomenal song. Not Safe. And then I don't know, I love NF. Happy is one of my favorite songs from him. Um, which is funny because the whole song is about not being happy.
Hmm.
um, and then shoot, I'm starting to get into Cameron Whitcomb. I love I love me some Steven Stanley. Starting to dive into to 21 Pilots. There's a lot. I take inspiration from just about anything I listen to.
Hmm.
But again, I think that the biggest thing is like when I explore a new song, like I'll have a like I'm really trying to capture the emotion in the song, and I don't think that that always looks like uh framing it in the same genre, if that
Hmm.
would make sense. So I'd say all of those. I look up to all of them. I love Brandon Lake. Brandon Lake's
Hmm.
really great. But yeah.
Right, definitely a big variety, which is again I can see that you talk about Benjamin William Hastings and you talk about NF. Those are probably two completely different opposite sides of the spectrum. I've listened to both, so I'm very
Yeah.
familiar with that. And of course, Stephen Stanley's got your very rockish sound to it, and then of
Yeah.
course Brandon Lake, worship, but he adds a little bit more rock to it, his stuff more recently at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that and see where that influences. So I like how people are going to kind of hear that reflected in the music you put out. So
That's good.
again, with the Christian music space, now that you're in this and you're writing music for the public, what role do you believe that Christian music should play in encouraging, challenging, or ministering to listeners today?
I think that personally, the CCM industry, which I just started diving into, so I can't say anything about anybody's motivations. But I think that it's become very ineffective, especially in trying to reach the lost
Mm.
because, or the hurting, because a lot of people don't understand it. And I think something that's really great and that has been very effective for the Christian community, but I think has been kind of harmful for the idea of people actually ministering is I think homeschooling
Mhm.
like kind of got a lot of people away from the world, which is good in a way, but then when you have a run-in with somebody who's been through maybe something I've been through or deals with addiction or has dealt with the maybe lust or they kind of encounter all these stuff, like you don't really have the tools to minister to them. So you'll say something like the valley, and or maybe some artists do, but they're not allowed to actually talk about it by the label. And I feel like there's this appeal to Christian soccer moms. Like
Mhm.
every song you put out, if you're in Christian music, it has to appeal to the Christian soccer moms. No one, it has to appeal to everybody, everyone. No one can, and it's just like, I think that you have a lot of Christians who are artists and are ministering to people in the music industry and to the world, but they're not they're too scared to put out Christian music.
Mhm.
And then you have Christian artists who, are, making Christian music and they want to minister to the world, but they're too scared to actually talk about how they really feel. And that's why you get artists like NF
Mhm.
or people like that, like maybe 21 Pilots, and they're like, "Hey, I don't want to talk about my faith too much because or make my music about that because then if everyone comes to me thinking I'm a Christian artist, then there's all this weight that comes on me for that." And I'm just like, let me just ignore all of that. Like
Mhm.
I don't care. I think that I want to be bold, and I think that Christian music like Oceans and You Say and certain songs have made it onto secular radio and they've ministered to people. But I want to do that with a layer of boldness. If people can
Mhm.
listen to songs about sex and drugs and objectifying women and all that stuff and be like, yeah, I don't really listen to the lyrics. I just listen to the beat. Well, why can't you not listen to my lyrics and just listen to my amazing beat that
Mhm.
my producer David is just killing it on. Like enjoy that, and then get that subconscious conviction going on there. Um, I think that we need to stop being so afraid to say what we want to say. Um, and I think that I think if there was a best way to describe my music, it's Christian music with no filter, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna talk about it all. Um, I'm gonna talk about whatever. I have Perilous Roads is about a character who is abused by his dad and he turns to pornography because he doesn't have a good preface for love.
Mhm.
And then he cries out to Jesus because his friend Bobby tells introduces him to Jesus. And then his friend Bobby's a victim of racism, which of course that song is also a metaphor for some things I've been through. And there's a lot of things like no matter what song I might put out, like that I'm trying to make it like really like heavy and hit home. And I want to reach different people each time, but I want to reach the lost. I want to reach the hurting. I want to reach the people no one wants to sit with because those are the people Jesus sat with.
I appreciate the honesty too. Of course, the hot take, your hot
Mm,
take there from Psalms of David, just really putting that out there because there's just so much great music out there, and I've been able to really hear different artists from the major label artists to the radio ones that get radio play to more independent, such as yourself, and there's just great talent all across the board, and so I love the fact that you're not afraid to do that, to go out there and just really do what God's called you to do instead of having to worry about the worldly desires. Worry about, hey, this is what I want to do. Reach out to others and hope to reach out that person. And at the end of the day, if we reach that, regardless of numbers, if we reach that one person, we've changed their life, then we've done our job. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So bravo to you for taking a stand for that, and really just using your heart and what the Holy Spirit's telling you to do. And we for the greater good of the Christian music industry, I think what you're doing is on track there.
Yeah.
But let's kind of take a kind of an overhead view of Psalms of David beyond the song "He Loves You" itself. What is kind of your your larger mission or vision for your artistry in a whole? Aside from I know you, like you said, you want to minister to others, but what is kind of your focus on that?
Like I think I said it well. I'm I want to sit with those who Jesus would have sat with, and I want to talk to them specifically, and I want to speak to them.
Mm,
And I think that after all I've been through, I have stories for days and how I can relate to almost everybody.
mm,
I I want to be a hand to hold in their lives, and I want my music to provide a place for like three stages,
mm-hmm,
people to um, come home, maybe process that coming home and become convicted of some things and really, you know, fall in love with Jesus. And then I think number three, provide a place to worship even though everything's still not perfect and there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of struggles. I know, I don't think I've ever met someone who's suffered and just they they gave their life to Christ and all of a sudden it just ended, everything just
mm,
ended immediately.
mm,
There's a process and God is good and God is faithful. But I think it becomes harmful when people start saying like, yeah, God's just gonna fix everything. Your life's just gonna get infinitely better. But Jesus said, no, you got to die to yourself every single
mm-hmm,
day. You got to take up your cross and you got to follow me. It's a narrow road. It's not easy.
mm-hmm,
Um, in fact, he promised that we would suffer for his namesake. So it's not going to get easier. But the hope is, and the beauty is that it will be better and there will be life and fulfillment and there will
mm-hmm,
be transformation. You won't be the same person. You won't be drinking poison. It's like switching from eating at McDonald's to cooking a nice healthy meal at your home every day.
mm-hmm,
There's discipline, there's some suffering. You got to lose some things to gain some things, and then the next thing you know, you feel healthy, you feel alive, you feel happy, and you're not having what you thought was freedom that was actually chains. You actually have freedom, like genuine, and you know what it is because you're experiencing it, and it's not what you ever thought it would be. And I want people to know that. And if I can do that with my music, if I can create a community where people can come as they are to be transformed, I want to do that.
mm-hmm,
I think that's what I'm called to do. Because at the end of the day, you can drop the denominations, all this religion. Jesus Jesus loves us and he wants freedom. He wants healing. He wants us to come home. He wishes that none would perish, but all would find eternal life. And our sin keeps us from that because we keep rebelling from the God who created us to do things, and we do things we're not supposed to do, we weren't designed to do, which inherently harms us. And I guess my heart just really breaks for that. Like that is my burden, and that is what I want to do. I think that's what I'm called to do. Yeah.
And I it's very strong message that, again, I think sometimes we forget about why we're doing what we're doing. And I love the fact that your debut release here on NRT Music is a single titled "He Loves You," because it's to the point. It's the gospel basically in a nutshell. And so you don't hold anything back, and you really just put it out there. So whether it's someone who's familiar with the Christian music scene, they hear it, or someone who just happens to see it and it just pops up in their playlist or whatever,
Yeah.
I think it's a really good way to start off. So, of course, this is kind of the commencement for what's to come. So,
Yes.
can you kind of tell us what's next? What do we have? More songs, maybe a tour, some collaborations. What do we have next for Psalms of David?
Um, we're gonna launch a website, album, first half of Heart Surgery, which is the new album. So it's an album in itself, but
Mm.
it's 8 tracks. Is gonna be dropping in October. I can't remember the date, and I don't want to say the wrong date and
Mhm.
get my label mad at me. But I think that's what we got in store so far. Got some ideas, but I don't want to say anything that's not written in stone. I'd love to do a couple features. I have some people that I've been talking to, but you never know until it's recorded.
We look forward to kind of following your future here to see what happens.
Yes, sir.
NRT Music they're good. They're great friends of ours. So anything they throw our way, we really like to talk with them. We've talked with many of their artists. So we just we love what they're doing, and just finding those pieces, like you said, of music that may not be getting the exposure that they so much deserve, because the music it hits the right way for the listener. And again, I know that team over there, they don't take what they put out lightly. So it's kind of an honor to really just to speak with you about that. But before we wrap up, just finally one kind of last thing. I know you've given a lot of different thoughts and ideas as far as what your focus and mission is for your music. But if you could leave just that one piece of encouragement for someone who's struggling with feeling unloved or unseen, what would you tell them?
He loves you, and but that's something that I really want you to chew on. Like, if he loves you, this is the thing that got me out of trafficking, right? This is the thing that, um, you know, that kept me moving when I got 2 hours of sleep a night because I was watching a guy who was smoking crack all day. I I want you to know that Jesus loves you and he sees you, and what you're going through is real, and it's really hard, and I know that. But because he loves you, if you just choose to trust in him and let him do what he's gonna do and submit to him, even if that means letting go of some things that you think how it should be, I promise you, I give you my word. If you can slaughter me in the comments, if it doesn't go well, I promise you, if you if you trust him, he'll get you through this and you'll be okay. And it's going to be a lot better, and he'll take what the enemy meant for evil and he'll turn it for good. And you're going to be so much stronger, and you're going to have you're just going to have so much life, and you're going to be able to minister to people, and you're going to get through this. I promise you, it's going to be greater than you could ever imagine, better than what you want right now. And you can't see that, but I can, and I know that he can, and he has a plan. And if you just let him do it, it's going to be all right. But yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, Ethan, again, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and your music with us today. Again, it's been an absolute privilege just to get to know you and hear the heart behind He Loves You, as well as what you have in the future. And again, we're going to be paying a lot of attention to what you've got coming out. Would love to maybe have you on here again as we look at the album, maybe kind of do a track by track deal. But again, thank you so much for taking your time and joining us on Kingdom Builder today.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been an honor.
He's